Okay, let's go.
It's time for Be Picked. When you're ready to move from clicks to clients, learn to be picked.
Welcome to Be Picked, the podcast where we talk about how professional service providers can build and grow their businesses. We've got all sorts of tips, tricks, and traps to avoid. How about that? Today, we are meeting with Michael Hopkin. He is a business coach and growth strategist. And I should introduce myself. I'm Andrew Kolsky, the host of Be Picked. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be with you today. How are you?
I am doing great, and we get another half hour here where we can talk about building businesses, and that's something I love to talk about, so time is going to fly by.
Yeah.
So in your title, it says business coach. So why don't we start off with a definition? What exactly is a business coach? What do you do, and what type of people do you work with?
Well, that's a great question or set of questions. There's different types of business coaches, but where my focus is on working with businesses to grow their revenue and to just make their, do things that will help their business be more successful. And the type, I've worked with customers in a lot of different industries. I've had customers in the trades like HVAC customers, plumbing customers, people that have those kind of businesses. A lot of my background, my personal background has been in technology. So particularly software product development. And so a lot of my customers have been technology-based customers. So clients that maybe have a business where they're doing AI products or they're doing, one of my clients has a great product where it's an app that helps you be more healthy and different things like that. So, and then I've had some, various clients and other, one of them helped people get their houses ready to become Airbnbs, different things like that. So I've worked with a lot of different businesses. And what I found is that the principles that I work on will work in just about any industry or any type of business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's
Well,
been good.
it's you're in the right place, because for the listeners who may not know, we're also BPicked is also a software company, meaning we have something called the credibility generator, and the credibility generator is a piece of software that we've developed that helps you take all the lessons learned through all the work that we do here and all the lessons we share here, and it automates it for you. So all the things you're thinking about in terms of, wow, that sounds great, but where am I going to find the time? We just gave you all your time back. So you can visit us at bpick.com and take a look at that. But this is not a show about that. This is a show where we're talking with Michael Hopkins. So tell us sort of from the beginning, when people think of building their business, they've got things like they can take out ads. They can hopefully get referrals from people. They can do a social media campaign. There's a lot of different options available today. So when you're working with someone, where do you start?
So let me back up one step, because what I've found when a lot of people build their business, before they even think about taking out that ad or doing something on social media or something like that, before they ever think about how are they going to get their customers, they have been doing something prior. Maybe they were at a corporation and they had a corporate job and they got really good at marketing, or they got really good at something, and they decided they wanted to build their own business. And so what I've found in working with a lot of small business owners is that they're really good at the core service or product that they provide. If it's a product, they really know that product. They built it. They know how it works, and they know how people can use it and be effective and get a lot of value out. But what they don't really think so much about is, how do I build a business around that? And so that's what I've really found that's the place I've really found I could help people is, how do you build a business around, you were the best plumber and everybody loved you. And when you started your business, you already had 15 customers because they just, when they heard you were going on your own, they were like, I'm in. But then they start and they want to build their business and grow it. And that's where I help them. And so uh, now that I've said that and I backed way up, I forgot what your question was.
Yeah. Well, the question was following from that sort of, okay, they've now started, they have their own shingle out there, right?
Yeah.
Where do they go from there? So for example, because I'm one of these people. I've had my own and still have my own professional services business, small, intentionally. And I have to get clients. And the same thing that I hear from a lot of my colleagues is, well, I get a lot of calls from people, but they're not the right clients. And so they end up taking a lot of time on the call, but they don't actually become a client. And now I've just lost all that time where I
Mhm.
couldn't get actual work done. So why don't we start with that question? How do you go about making sure that you're attracting the right clients, and what do you do to attract them?
That's a great question, and that is one that I have dealt with all of my clients with. And where I start is I start and I just ask them this question: "What is your position of market dominance?" And a lot of times that kinda takes them off guard. They're like, "What do you mean? Well, I'm a small business. How can I have a position of market dominance? I'm just a plumber. I have an HVAC business. How do I?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, tell me a little bit about who do you serve?" And I work up to talking about the market that they're in, because all businesses are in a market. And the idea of having a position of market dominance is that in the market where your business operates, you are the very best at that. And so I help them kind of just dig through everything, and figure out what are they the very best at. And that is where we start to build out their messaging. Because once you have that part nailed down, and then so part of getting your position of market dominance is not only what are you the best at, but who are the clients that most need it? Who are your ideal clients, your ICPs? Who are the ones that really need what you either the service you provide or the products that you sell? Who are those people? And then we build out the plan of how do you go about connecting with them, speaking about what you do. And by speaking, it could be on social media. It could be, there's a lot of different ways to quote speak. Could be actually speaking at conferences. There's a lot of different ways to get them. It's just about getting that message out. How do you do that effectively? And so that's where, you know, that's that's a big part. If I work for a client for a year, that might be 3 or 4 months worth of work that we're doing to get that going and get it to where it's really starting to bring leads and people in. And the idea, what I ultimately want to help my clients do is get to the point where they just have people finding them because they're in the right places, they have the right message, they're doing things that people need. People are starting to find them to where they can just talk to them and say, "That would be a great client. Let's work together." Or, "I'm not sure what I do is gonna help you, but I know this person, they might be able to help you," and they can, help them get the help they need. That's what I try to do, and that's a bit of a lengthy description of that, and I probably should find a succinct few sentences for that, but that's what I do.
Okay, all right. But those are all important pieces.
Yeah,
And um, you know, I'm trying to well, I don't need to try. I'm putting myself in the position of the small business owner because I
yeah.
am. Um, And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so, one of the things, well, let me back up to this. One of the things that you said that I say and I hear from other people as well is this idea of it sounds intuitive in terms of identify who your customer is, but I hear so many people say, if I ask them that question, well, who's your ideal customer? And they'll be, well, anyone that needs this type of service. Well, yes, but you can't market to the world and have your message heard. You've
Right.
got to identify a very specific niche market to start, and then you can grow from there. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, they struggle with that. It's like, well, why am I going to limit myself to this when I could, have the
Sure,
whole
certainly.
world? Because you're overwhelmed. That's why.
Yeah. No, well, that's, what you're bringing to my mind, and this is a conversation I've had with many of my clients, the word decisive. Making decisions and narrowing down and being kind of the other word that fits into this kind of in a little bit different way, but is the word niche. You need to really be focused on what are you the best at? What can you do? And then only the people who really need that are your ideal clients. Not everybody, even though you could help, you know, any person in the world could help anybody else with something, somehow, some way. But if you have to dig through and spend a lot of time and a lot of effort, it's not gonna get you the clients you want. It's not gonna get you the revenues that you need to really grow your business and to be successful. So it really is all about what is that? I mean, it goes back to what is your niche or what is your position of market dominance and who are the people that need it? And so, yeah, it's really, you got to be very clear on that. And that's not, most people that start a business don't think about these kind of things. It's not a normal thought process that people have.
Yeah. Well,
So
because they're in the business of doing their business, they're not in
whatever
the
it is,
business of
exactly.
marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So, yeah.
So let's follow that through then. What would you say would be maybe the two or three highest impact areas that the business owner should really focus on if they want to, they want to grow, but, there's just so much they can do from a marketing perspective and time.
That really depends on the kind of business. If it's a services business, um, you know, what is the core service? You and I, before we began, talked a little bit about something I'm doing. I'm kind of pivoting to a new service for my business that is tied to technology and CEOs in technology businesses, specifically in software businesses. So what you wanna do is you wanna say, "Okay, what can I do better than anybody else, and how do I package it?" So it needs to be packaged if it's a service. Now, we'll talk if you want, we can go into how I would do it with products, but if it's a services kind of business, how would I package it? And then where are the people who need this and how do I connect with them? And that ties into the stuff we've been talking about, the marketing to them.
Right. Right.
So that's
So,
kind of the approach I would take.
right. Okay. So, you know, when we get into professional services, you've got the B2B market where you're working with businesses, or you've got the B2C market where you're working with consumers. And so
Uh-huh.
you have to first kind of make that choice. That's the first big step,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Um, if you're working with consumers and maybe, I don't know, maybe you're a dentist and you're working with consumers. I would think that you're going to want to be visible where the potential patients come from,
Mhm.
which is where do consumers hang out? Well, they hang out a lot on social media. They hang out on Facebook, Instagram, those types of places. different from if you're an attorney doing corporate work. Well, you're not going to really find too much on Instagram. I hope you don't. You're going to find more stuff and
But
more
maybe
clients
on
on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, knowing your market, but then let's say you've identified your ideal client, you've identified where they hang out. You're now ready to start kind of getting your message out there, and you do start getting your message out there. But there's got to be, there's often a gap. There's the people who see the message, but they don't contact you, or the people who see the message and contact you, but they don't hire you. What are some of the hidden gaps that cause potential clients to hesitate before they actually hire the person?
They need to be able to trust you, and so your messaging has to be done in a way that builds trust, and then you need to be able to, you need to have your online presence done in a way that when they go and they, like, look you up, so to speak, they can see things that you've done, people or businesses you've worked with, and they can, they start to build trust. And then when they reach out to you, you need to be very, you need to just have a way or get in the habit of talking to them in a way that's just very, there's a word that's, of course, not coming to my mind because I want it to. You wanna talk to them in a way that connects with them, not selling them anything, not trying to show them how good you are or what make it all about them and just build that connection, build that trust as you're talking to them. And then, of course, as they're like, "Okay," they get to the point where that sounds good, the price range is right, it's gonna be a big benefit for them, whatever you do, the service or the products, and they say yes, and then you start working with them, then you just have to keep doing more of the same and just serving them. I mean, I'm a big believer in servant leadership and being a servant to people and not, in the old traditional way where you wear the suit and you come out with the tray and that kind of servant, but just being somebody who is willing to help them and listen to them. And I mean, one of the things that I found that was interesting with a lot of business owners is it gets really lonely. It can be lonely to be a business owner.
Yes.
And one of the things that they need is just somebody that they can talk to and just kind of unload their ideas and share. And then the other side of that is they need, and a lot of times they don't even know this, but what they need and what they value is an accountability partner, somebody to kind of hold them accountable to doing what they know they need to do because either things get in the way or there's always things that come up and you say, "You know what? I need to do that, but I'll get to it tomorrow," or whatever, and then a week goes by and they don't get to it. So becoming the accountability partner, I think my clients value that as much or more than anything else I talk to them about or I teach them or I train them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, I want to relate that back to what you said, which is really that concept of trust is really the first thing that it's the first hurdle, that they've got to get over before a client is going to really want to work with you and stay with you.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I often talk about I talk about the topic a lot. And I always explain there's two different types of trust. There's the cognitive trust and the affective trust or affective trust, however you want to say the word. Cognitive trust being tell me, about your credentials and, if I'm going to hire a lawyer, are you licensed? Do
Yeah.
you, what school you went to, those types of things. That's cognitive trust. And that it's important, but it's not the thing that's going to get you the client. The affective trust is do I connect with you? Are you credible? Do you seem to understand my problem?
Mhm.
Can you describe it in a way that is my language, that I
Yeah.
feel like we have this connection? Those are the things that get you hired. And it's important to understand that, because there's too many people out there who do the thing where you were referring earlier is, hey, I'm here, hire me. Here's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
business card. Just give me a call. We'll do the work. Well, I don't know anything about you and I don't trust you yet. So no, I'm not going
yeah,
to hire you. Thank you very much.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's not I mean, when people say what you just said, if they don't really know you and they don't trust you, so they're not gonna hire you, it's not necessarily because they don't trust you in the brute sense of the word, but it's they don't know enough about you and you haven't done enough to show them that you can deliver on what you say you'll do. I think that is so important. That's such an important part of building that trust. And again, it just and this is what I tell my clients all the time, just be you, be the best you can be. And just be honest with people, don't try and tell them you can do things you can't. Don't, that's never going to work. Or if it does, if it starts to work, it's going to backfire on you, And so what I found my, my most successful clients and honestly the most success I've ever had in my life, in my business life is just by being myself and being honest and doing you know, the best I can and finding people who need what I do and just doing a great job and putting them first and doing it, doing the work. I don't know. So many things tie together, but it really just comes down to being and there's a word that I'll use that I've come to love, and it's the word vulnerability. A lot of people, especially people that say they're business owners or they're business people, they don't like to use it because it feels like it's kind of weak. But what I've found is if you can be vulnerable with people and just let them see the real you, that builds a connection, that builds trust. And so
Yeah.
if you can do that with your potential clients, they're going to want to work with you. They're going to want to hire you.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself the number of times that you can talk with someone, a business owner who is having trouble getting clients and they're not sure where to start. And it's it's sort of heartbreaking to hear it, because what they'll do is like, well, if I'm not getting enough, leads and things, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the two things that are obvious that I need to do. I'm going to put out more ads. I'm going to lower my prices because that'll get me clients. And
Yeah.
then it
Oh.
doesn't work.
And
And
lowering the
then
prices
they're
could
really at a
be the
loss.
worst it can be the worst thing, they could ever do. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's typically the reaction for someone who doesn't understand what we're talking about, who doesn't understand the necessity to build that connection, to build that trust, to make sure that the client, when they meet you or they read about you or they hear about you, feels a connection that you have the ability to solve their problem. Because, you know, whether you're a plumber, a baker, a lawyer, a dentist, whatever you are, there's 1,000 more of you out there. So
Right.
why are they going to pick you over the guy next to you? That's what you got to be thinking about, and it all comes down to trust.
Trust and help and being really clear on what I call the position of market dominance, it's what do I do better than anybody else? And why is it better for them, and how can I message that in a way that will connect with them, that they'll see, "Oh, wow, I need to talk to Andrew, man. He does" he does that great so well, and anyway, that's what it really boils down to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it clearly resonated with you when I, talk about people to say, "Oh, I gotta lower my prices."
Yeah.
What other mistakes do you see people make that, just sends them in the wrong direction?
You know, the one that comes to mind as you ask that question is something you've already kind of talked about a little bit, and that is trying to boil the ocean, trying to serve anybody who just put something out there so that they get kind of sometimes they're not getting as many as they want and they kind of get desperate and they're like, I'm just going to throw it out on Facebook or I'm just going to do whatever to get the word out. And it it doesn't work. I mean, doing that doesn't work. And in some cases it can actually backfire on you, and I've seen that happen where people just start see how your messaging has changed or whatever, and you're trying to reach out to everybody, and even if you have some clients and they see that and they're like, "Wait a minute, I thought you did this, and now you're saying you can do all these other things. What is it you're really focused on?" So that's one thing. What I'm trying to think of, there's probably a few others, but nothing else is coming to mind. So
Mhm. Yeah. Well, but, just following up on that thought, if you're I don't know, let's pick dentist. You're a dentist. And if you want to go out on the Facebook and start putting some stuff out there, there's a difference between putting out, "I'm a dentist, I'm really qualified, hire me," versus, "Let's talk about the problems that people have when they've got a toothache." Toothaches can come, because the person looking for you is the person with the toothache, not the person
yeah,
looking for a generic dentist, right?
right, right.
And the second issue is take that now and boil it down and say, let's talk about pediatric toothaches. Now
Haha.
you're giving yourself a defined market that you can
Yes.
easily um, place yourself into because it's not boiling the ocean, like you said.
Yeah.
And you will start to see that people eventually will start to follow you and ask questions and call and follow up if you're putting out valuable information. Now, if you're just giving the hard sell, "Oh, we got a special on today. We're going to lower our prices to 50% off if you come in," you'll get some people. They're not going to be long-term clients. They'll come in one time. But if you want to build the business, it's not about price. It's
No.
about showing that value of the connection, like you've been saying.
You just brought something up, another thing that really resonated with me is giving them something of value, whether it's something that you put out there that they can read and reading it and understanding it and knowing it creates value, or whether it's something, if it's a product, it's something that they could use, some version of the product. But the key to it, give them something of value, and you might need to really work hard to figure out what it's gonna be, but give them something of value, and that will again build the trust and do all the other things that we've been talking about. That's a great place to start, is creating that value.
And for me, the easiest way to identify what is that thing of value that you can provide is number one, identify what is your ideal client's problem that they want solved. What is their pain point? And once you identify their pain point, then the thing of value is here's some information, some resources, some things that can help you understand that you can move away from pain and closer to comfort. And I can help you do that. Now you've got a message that resonates directly with the audience that you want.
I love that, and in your example, if I'm a pediatric dentist, you know, put something out there that helps the parent know what can they do to help their child who's having this problem, and that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's one of
Yeah.
those cases. I mean, when it comes to a dentist, most people just try and um, get people who are in their, their general area so that they can drive to their dentist's office, do all the stuff they do. But if you get really good at things like that, you could be a pediatric dentist that helps people all over the country or even in other parts of the world, depending on what you do. So, eh, all these things tie together, and I love these kind of conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, so we've talked about a lot of tips and things here that help someone kind of get started and get on the right track. It would be it would be a sin if I didn't mention the fact that I've got a book coming out soon. My book is called Left of Trust, and it dives into the psychology and other things behind what has to happen before people get to that point where they trust you and ultimately hire you. So if you're interested in that, you can visit my website at www.bpicked.com, and you will find information there about the book. You can sign up to be on the notification list, so when it comes out, you'll be one of the first ones to know. So I had to plug that in there because
awesome.
I've worked
That's
so
great.
hard on it.
Please sign up. That sounds like it's gonna be a good book. I will look forward to getting my copy.
Well, I'm excited to have finally finished it, and now we're just doing all the final formatting and editing, so it looks pretty when it comes out. So, but we are out of time for today. So, Michael Hopkin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and share your insights and your experience. I'm sure the audience appreciates all of it. I'm going to give you the final word before we wrap up.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew. This has been a fun conversation. And I will just tell you, if you're a business owner, no, it doesn't matter what the business is, there are certain things, things that we've been talking about that you can do today or in the next week that will make a difference for your business. And if there's anything I could do to help you, please reach out. You can reach me at on LinkedIn. That's the place I spend most of my time is on LinkedIn. I'm Mike Hopkin on LinkedIn, or you can reach me at Mike at hopkinprofitcreation.com. So thank you so much, Andrew, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. We're glad to have had you here. And for listeners, we will see you every single week on a new episode of Be Picked Podcast. Join us in. Bye. If you are enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.